Okay, hello everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get started. But first, let me introduce myself. I am the Family and Community Partnership Coordinator for Surrey and Sussex. And then I want to introduce some of the other people that are on my team in the Sussex and Surrey area. I have Miss Joanne Clark. Can you wave, Joanne, so they'll know who you are? Family Service Specialist. Miss Ricks, our Education Coordinator. Miss Ricks, can you wave? Our teachers over in Surrey, we have Miss Charnay Miller, our teacher. If you're on, please wave. Miss Randolph, if you're here. And then in class A, we have Miss Mallory. And then class B, Miss Berman and Miss Gaines. And in class C, we have Miss Batad and Miss Bell. So let them know who you are. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. And also some of our other partners in our office that work with us, we have Mr. Ricks with our employment training program and Miss Darlene Whiting with our Parent as Teachers program. They've been very, very helpful in making our program successful. Okay, so let's get rolling. So we're gonna be talking about domestic violence, stress management, substance abuse prevention. So that's going to be our Thoughtful Thursday presentation for today. We serve Brunswick, Sussex, Surrey, Greensville, Dinwiddie, and the city of Emporia. Okay, so at this time, it is with great honor that I'm going to introduce our speaker for today. And I'm going to try to say her name right. Okay, Agusta Wakapa. She has a master in psychology. She's a life coaching, 4 years experience working with survivors of domestic violence at the James House. So please, in the chat box, give her a nice big round of applause. Ding, 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 ding. All right. Okay. All right, Miss Augusta, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Take it away.
So thank you everyone for having me. I work with the James House. For you who don't know what the James House does, the James House is a nonprofit. We work with survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence. And our services are free. When we get our clients, most of them require a lot of life coaching and a lot of life skills for them to be able to get themselves up again and self-sufficient. So that's why I come in, and you'd be surprised how much life skills I have to give. You know, it's really essential. So today, we are going to talk about self-love, because I feel like self-love is connected to people and who you are as a person, what kind of, how you carry yourself, how you feel about yourself. And that affects everything you do, your relationships with others. And I think that's an important topic. And I don't think a lot of people talk about self-care and self-love, which is, self-care is a part of self-love. Self-love is just a bigger umbrella that covers everything. So I want to ask in the chat box, what is self-love? What does self-love mean to you? And there's no wrong answer, because, you know, it's pretty broad. So I'm putting it now.
Hello.
Hi.
Miss Robinson.
Can you hear me?
I can. Good evening. This is Miss Robinson. Connie Robinson.
Okay.
Sorry I'm late.
Welcome. I would ask everybody to mute themselves. And please unmute yourself when you want to talk so that we don't have a lot of interruptions. Appreciate that. So what does self-love mean to you? Just put it in the chat box, what you feel that means to you as a person.
Augusta, I see a lot of good answers.
Yes, loving oneself, doing something for yourself, giving yourself gifts, being true, self-worth, inner peace. All those are right answers because it's every one of those. So I'm gonna ask Miss Miller to start sharing her screen for the PowerPoint. And then we're gonna go over ways to love yourself. And so we are going to talk about ways that you can love yourself if you don't know where to start. And I'm gonna go over them. Some of them I'm gonna dwell on a little bit, and some of them they just explain themselves. So I'm not gonna dwell over them a lot. So let's go to the next page. So the first thing is know yourself. You cannot love yourself if you don't know yourself. You have to know what your values are, what you stand for. When someone is crossing the line, you have to know that. If you don't know yourself, I tell people, if you don't know who you are, it's really hard to love yourself. Number two is say no when you have to. I know a lot of people, the way we are brought up, I'm going to speak for myself. I don't know anybody else, but the way I was brought up is that if someone needs help, you have to be there for them. And that's a really bad culture because sometimes you just can't. So say no when you have to say no is that I'm putting myself first. I haven't slept for 4 days. I need this day to sleep. I know you have stuff going. I can't be there for you today. And some people don't know how to say no. They yes to everything. Are you going to be for this? Yes. Are you going to do this for me? Yes. By the end of the day, you're so drained and you're so tired because you don't know how to set those boundaries to say, yes, I can be there for you, but up to this point. So I think that's where we go wrong as parents, as teachers, as members who are always being told, oh, you need to be there for women's meeting and you need to be there for this class and you need to help this teacher. And you're just one person. I mean, you can't do everything. So don't compare yourself to others. This is a really big one because we always look at success in terms of money, how much someone has, and you're like, you feel bad about it. But success is a whole lot more than that. If you have peace, if you have love, if you have the basics right now. With COVID, if you have your health, you're really doing great. So just to put that out there. Be truly present. That means that you're able to be present in one moment, talking to one person at a time. And I see a lot of this with parents with little kids. They can't even put their phone down to pay attention to what the child is saying. And that's a really bad culture. If you want to talk to someone, be there, the whole of you, or don't be. It's really simple. And I say with parents, if you put your phone down to talk to them and focus on them, you're really teaching that child, one, respect, two, that they're very important to you. Because if my child is talking to me and I'm on Facebook, what I'm saying is Facebook is really important to me and I can't pay attention to you at this time because I'm doing something else, which sends a really bad message. We can go to the next slide. So know your strengths. We all have gifts. Know what those are for you. You know, some people don't. I would ask people to find out what their strengths are and use them. 6, give yourself healthy treats. I was telling someone the other day that I buy myself stuff, not because of anything, but because I make the money. If I want to buy myself flowers, I don't need to wait till Valentine's Day to do that. Or for someone to give me flowers, I mean, they're only a couple of dollars. I'm going to buy that for myself. And I think growing up, we're not taught to love yourself to that extent, to where if you want to do something, you just go ahead and do it, especially if it doesn't cost a lot of money. Do it for yourself. So be honest with yourself, um, and let yourself off the hook for your mistakes and imperfections. Um, this is one of the biggest ones, because we all make mistakes. We all have bad days. Uh, just forgive yourself. It was a bad day. You did something you didn't like. We all do. Just don't drag it on for a week. Don't drag it on for a month. It happened. It's gone. You can't do anything to change it. Just let it go. Next slide. So work on forgiving yourself for bigger stuff. So you have to forgive yourself for mistakes that you did. I have people who really do not get their life straight because of something that happened or something they did 10 years ago. It's 10 years too late, to do anything about it. Let's say your kids are grown, okay? And you feel like you are not there for them. What is it that you can do right now if you stop beating yourself over it? You can't change anything. You can't go back to them being 5, So the best thing to do is forgive, forget, and be there now and keep moving forward. Number 10, this is a really big one that a lot of people struggle with. Accept that some people won't like you. That is just a fact of life. Some people think if I'm nice enough, if I do more, if I change who I am, people are going to like me. Let me tell you today that once you came to this earth, there are people who are not going to like you. And it has nothing to do with you. They just don't. I have people who don't like me, and I have people who like me a lot. And I'm okay with either, because I know that's just how life is. So have fun. And number 12 is practice gratitude. Gratitude is more like you're very thankful for stuff that we take for granted. Every day I wake up, I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to have my health. I'm happy to have my job, especially with what's going on now. So you have a lot more to be thankful for now, even if you never saw it before. Like, think about people who have lost their jobs. Think about people who have been sick. Think about people. It's a lot going on in the world. And if you have a roof over your head, if you're eating right, you have your job, you have your health, you're really blessed. The last one, which I think is number 13, which is the next slide, is respect yourself, which is the one Miss Bailey really, really liked, which is your mind and body deserve your care and attention. Treat yourself with the same respect you offer others, because only you can determine your worth. So we love other people, we respect other people, we offer empathy, compassion to other people, to our kids, to our co-workers, to our, but we don't look inside to say, I deserve the same kind of compassion and forgiveness. We so freely give to others what we ourselves need. So it's important to to know that you're important as a person. Leave the kids alone, leave everybody, because as and I know a lot of you, a lot of the bigger crowd is women. As women, we put everybody else first, and we come like number 21, which is like so wrong, because you're supposed to be at the top priority. If you can't prioritize yourself, nobody else will, because you've already shown these other people that you're not important. So I tell people, when you make your schedule for the day, you come first. You come as number one. If you're setting time for your kids, you're setting time for yourself too. So I'll tell you what I do. I like to wake up 20 minutes early than anybody else in the house. And those 20 minutes, they are mine. I don't care what's going on. If you wake up, we wake up at the same time, don't talk to me. That's my time. I watch the sun come up. I pray. I do my meditation. I settle my mind down before the craziness begins. So that's how I take care of myself and make sure I don't burn out. So I want to challenge you to take time for yourself. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time. I know you have a lot going on, but it takes about a few minutes to do that. So I'm gonna end my PowerPoint, and we will move on to the video in shortly, unless anybody has a question.
I was just going to say, great information. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question? Okay, so since my my job requires that I talk about domestic violence when I come to a meeting like this, we're gonna watch a video about a young man who was affected by domestic violence. I know we don't talk about domestic violence as a male issue. It's all about women being victims. But we're going to talk about domestic violence from a male perspective. Someone who was affected, and now they go around sharing their stories to the world. And that's going to take another 11 minutes. And then we are going to come back to any questions that you all might have. So I'm going to ask Ms. Miller to play that for me.
Everyone's heard the whole cliche, never take life for granted. But as humans, we become complacent. And we often take chapters of our life for granted, even the ones that we haven't been able to read yet. And on September 30th, 2006, that all changed for me. That was the day that I lost my mother, my 3 brothers, and my sister. They were taken away because of 2 words: domestic violence. They were murdered by my mother's husband. And those chapters that we take for granted, such as me being able to see my brother graduate, me being able to see my other brother play football, me being able to teach my other brother how to drive, me being able to see my sister go to prom, or my mom even being able to see me get married, or being able to even meet my son. Those are chapters of my life that were basically erased from my book. And so after that, when I lost my immediate family, I lost my identity in who I was. I had to rediscover who I was. So I had to find out who was I, who am I going to be, where am I going, why did this happen to me? And it took me on a journey where I had internal warfare going on within me, because that was the first time in my life that I experienced what hate really felt like. And I understood why we're not supposed to hate, because it can consume you. And so on that journey, I always ask why. Why did this happen to me? And one day I woke up and I went to church. And the sermon that day was about asking for guidance and asking the right questions. And so I left there and I knew that I needed to ask something different. And so I started asking for guidance. And 3 months later, I hosted an event in honor of my mom and my 4 siblings to bring awareness to domestic violence. And thank you. And on that day, with 3 weeks of planning, we had over 500 people show up that day. And at the end of the event, we saved 6 victims. And ironically, to me, it was like saving my family and saving myself. But at the end of the event, even though it was a great event and we saved people, it still felt like something was missing. It felt like something still just wasn't right, something still wasn't there, and there was more to this story. It was more things that I needed to accomplish. And so a senator invited me to a high school to speak to some kids in an auditorium. And I had 2 sessions with 600 kids. And I spoke to the kids about dating and domestic violence, spoke to them about the signs, and told them about my story. And afterwards, I had a line of kids that wanted to talk to me about my story, tell me about their personal stories at home, and also tell me about the personal dating issues that they have themselves. And the last thing that someone said to me was, I wish that someone would come in and talk to us about dating violence and the signs. And that's when it's like I had an epiphany and everything became clear, and I knew what my mission was, and I knew what I was supposed to do. And I knew that education was the key to shake up the culture of domestic violence. And there's 3 points in that education that we have to hit on. The first thing is that instead of eliminating gender roles, we have to teach and establish healthy ones for our young men and our young women. For our young men, they grow up, they play with toys such as action figures, they play with toy guns, they play with trucks, they play with all these aggressive components. And that's why they go into certain job fields. That's why you have a majority of men, such as firefighters, military, police, and mechanics. They go into those job fields because those are the things that they play with when they were young, and they see those things on TV. So that's how they get their identity. When it comes to women, when they're young, they usually play with doll babies, they play with easy bake ovens, they play with, girl stuff, as they say. And, that's why they become the nurturing type, and they become nurses, they become teachers, and they follow those kind of job fields because that's what they're kind of brought up to do. But as a man, it doesn't mean that you can't have a nurturing side. When I was 14, my mom taught me how to do my sister's hair. Not because I was less of a man, but because she said that in case anything ever happened to your wife, if you have a daughter, I want you to be able to take care of your daughter. These are not boy skills, these are not girl skills, these are life skills. And so I know how to do hair, but does that make me less of a man? And it does not. I don't do hair for a living, but if I had a daughter, I know that I would be able to provide and take care of her. And so sometimes as men, we put ourselves inside these boxes and we say, this is what it means to be a man. And that can create a lot of pressure. And without the proper guidance, men become very aggressive. And that's our culture. Our culture is aggression. We feel like women should be submissive to us. But there's a lot more that goes on with relationships that split it 50-50. Because behind every strong man, there's a woman supporting that drive and making that drive happen. And so the next thing is that for ages, women have always been at the forefront of domestic violence. They have been the voices, they've been screaming their lungs out about domestic violence. And we as men, and they accept their role and they take action as victims of domestic violence. But we as men, we never join the conversation. We never speak about domestic violence. We never accept our role. We never even admit that we have a part to play in it. And as men, we have to start accepting that role and taking responsibility for the actions that we contribute to women losing their lives. And as men, we have two different roles that we have to accept. We have to accept our role as abusers, and we also have to accept our role as victims, because men are also victims of domestic violence. But that box that I talked about, we don't break outside of that box to go tell our best friend or our coworker, hey, my wife abused me last night, or things are getting crazy, because we're still stuck inside that box, and anything outside of that box is what we don't consider to be a man. And so the third and the most important point to me is age-appropriate proactive education. So over this summer, we taught over 600 kids, ages 5 through 12, about bullying and power and control, which are the same behaviors that transition into dating and domestic violence. So we feel like if we begin a culture this low and tell them this is what it means to establish friendship and a healthy relationship, and these are the unhealthy things, because 85% of kids who experience domestic violence in the home, they either become the abuser or they become abused. It's learned behavior. So we have to take action to teach them what a healthy relationship looks like. Give them that example, because they may not always get that opportunity at home. And so when we go into high schools this year, we will surpass 2,500 kids that we're teaching about dating and domestic violence. And the impact that it's having on kids is just incredible. A student came to me and told me that after our first session, that she went to her boyfriend and she told him, some of the things that we're experiencing in our relationship is considered dating violence and power and control. And she said, if these things do not change, we can't date any longer. And to me, that speaks to the power of saving a life. We don't always have to be reactive to save lives. There's a lot of organizations out there that are reactive to domestic violence. And I realized that my mission is to be proactive and prevent it from happening, and to save lives by being proactive. And so my challenge to you today, especially the men in the room, is to look yourself in the mirror. What kind of example do you want to be for your sons, for the youth? Do you want to be a father that handles conflict by talking calmly? Do you want to be the father that handles conflict by yelling and cursing? Do you want to be the father that punches holes in sheetrocks? Or do you want to be the father that punches someone in the mouth when you're upset? Because your kids are watching, and the examples that you set today are the same way that they're going to handle conflict as adults. So be the great example and be a part of that change. Because you don't want to wait until it's your family. You don't want to wait until it's your mother, your sister, your daughter, your son, to decide that it's enough. Because by then it's too late. And those chapters that you look forward to reading, the chapters that I will never get to read in life, are gone. Thank you.
So thank you for watching. Is there anybody that has anything to say about the video? Any takeaways?
I would like to ask, do we have any kind of program like that that can speak to the children in the high schools or the middle schools or the public schools in general?
Yes, the James House does some of that, and we go into schools. A few schools have let us in. I don't think Sussex has, but I know we're doing Surrey, Colonial Heights, and Prince George. Those are the three public schools that we're doing prevention in. And it's really been great teaching kids what a healthy relationship looks like, red flags and all that. Yes.
And I was looking at the
Can
video.
I ask?
Oh, go ahead. You can go ahead. Was somebody speak?
Yes, somebody was speaking.
Todd? You want to go ahead? Ms. Jarrett?
How would we go about, I mean, I know we have the COVID and stuff going right now, but how would one go about getting you guys tied in with Sussex public schools so they could get some kind of program that you offer started?
We would have to talk to the teachers, and I think it's also about who you get to find, because people feel like some topics are too out there, like sex, like sexting, like stuff. But it's stuff kids are doing anyway. But given the culture, and we're rural, given the culture of Sussex, some parents might feel like that's too not appropriate. But I tell you what, at high school, they're already sexting. So you not teaching them about it, it's not gonna help. But so we had that tussle about some parents feeling that that education is not appropriate, or and some feeling like it is. So we were kind of stuck in there, but we are going to try that when they go back to school and see if we can go back.
I'd appreciate you guys trying, because I really feel like every child should have some type of education, even if just the topic about bullying, you know, like he mentioned in the video. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Jarrett?
I want to thank you too, because that is some good information, and it starts, you know, what children see at home, or maybe what they have been taught by their parents, whatever they are exposed to. So I feel like, and everybody here knows that each area needs to have some kind of support system for that, because you don't know how many people are suffering silently or quietly. Nobody knows, they don't know how to tell anybody, you know, because they feel they'll be exposed to something. But really, we need that support. We need that help. And it starts with little children, because so you don't know why they are so angry and you know, like want to fight even little bitty children, because that's what they might see something going on, and that's their way of dealing with it. So thank you for the video.
You're welcome. I think these are conversations we need to have. They're conversations that need to start at home. Unfortunately, some kids don't have that. They don't have that role model. They don't have anybody they can talk to. But like he was talking about gender roles, how do you teach a man to be a man? What is toxic? What is not? Life skills. I mean, everybody needs that life skills. I don't care if you're male or female. Everybody needs to learn how to cook, clean. Those are skills you're gonna use. I don't care who you are. You have to clean your clothes. You have to cook. You have to eat at some point. People will say boys can't cook, boys can't do this. It's a life skill. A life skill is a life skill. It doesn't have any gender. Anybody else? So if there are no
Okay.
other questions, okay, I'll hand over the meeting to Miss Bailey if there are not any other questions.
Okay, so we want to thank Ms. Augusta for that wealth of information. It's so important. So if you could put something in the chat box, thanking her for sharing with us, we do appreciate it. And she's been such a good partner with us since the past 4 years that she's been with us. She's been awesome. So we thank her so much for coming to visit with us today. So with that said, we're going to see you on next week, next Thursday. The topic will be another very, very important subject of father figures awareness. And Miss Gloria Bynum will be your host, and she shared with us earlier that Mr. Logan will be our guest speaker. Okay. All right. We thank you so much. Do you have any other questions?
I see a question here about, do you think that a son being raised by a single mother has an effect on him? And I think my answer to that is no, as long as you surround him with positive male role models. It doesn't have to be, the father. Sometimes the fathers are more toxic being in the child's life than them not being. So I've seen situations where that is, I don't think that affects him as long as he has other male figures to look up to. So I think that's the only question I see. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Ms. Miller, would you like to have the last word? Our Head Start director. Would you like to share anything?
Thank you.
Go.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey, for the opportunity. And thank you, Ms. Wakapa, for sharing such a powerful video and powerful presentation. I appreciate everybody for participating this week. The information just goes deeper and deeper. And I hope that you guys will enjoy Thoughtful Thursday going forward. And thank you, Ms. Bailey. You did a great job hosting.
Thank you.
Yes, that's all I have for you guys. I will see everybody
Okay.
next week.
We're going to wave
Thank
some
you so
love to
much.
you, Mr. Augusta. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, everybody.